today, and the person was saying to me that you know what is going on, they're following social media, and the vibes they're getting is a very positive vibe. So we can say we are on the right track for 2024. And if we embrace this opportunity to be united, to be purposeful, and to recognize what we are and who we are for our country, then obviously the privilege of heard from Pastor Randy Rodney, the Almighty Father will bless us, strengthen us, guide us, and give us the wherewithal to confront the challenges that we're facing and to make us a better nation going forward. Electoral reform, we have been on this road for the last 14 or more years, and in my mind, it's a simple thing that we as a people can settle. The rest of the region saw the need to improve on the electoral system, and they did so, and they were so bright about it that the OAS assisted them to pay the expenses that came with it. In Dominica, we're still there struggling to get reform. Remember, we were promised reform before an election, and in 2022, we had an election, what we refer to as a sham general election, and we saw what happened, and our country continued to be divided. Our nation continued to be divided, and we want to stop that. That division is not good for us, it's not good for our country, and it's not good for our young people. And of course, we've been seen in the region as the people who cannot settle on important matters. And in the past, we have done good things in our health, in our education, in our local government, just to mention a few, and the world have copied and used us as an example. I want to say in a big way, thank you to Q95 who is here carrying live, and of course Kyrie FM who is here carrying live. Let's give a round of applause. And this year, we as people, as government, as opposition, as media, must work for the good of our country. That's our right. And we should never be afraid to stand up for what is right and be representing brothers and sisters. And sometimes we look a little fearful and we try to please people and we continue to go down and down and down. I also want to, in a big way, welcome Emonews carrying live. Let me a big round of applause. And of course, DNO is here as well, carrying live. So we say thank you to these media houses, and let's say in a big way, they are civilized media people. They are civilized media people. And it's only civilized media people, professionals, and houses that will attend important issues, whether it's government or opposition, and disseminate the right information to the people of Dominica at home and abroad. And those who are afraid to do that, they are cowards. And in 2024, we must leave them behind. We must not waste time with what is not important. We must focus on the bigger picture. And you know, December gone, 6th of December gone, it was the first anniversary of what we consider to be a sham election. And we felt we should celebrate our effort to identify to the world that we would not participate in any marshy Kokomaka, brothers and sisters. And today we're here because when we put things together, we realized the time was a bit short to do it for December. So we're here, thanks be to God, on the 11th of January 2024. Thank you, God. So tonight there's a lot to talk about, and collaboration is important in our country. The major organization, political parties, and civil society organizations must collaborate when our country is in problem. We also must collaborate with our brothers and sisters in the rest of CARICOM.
Yes, yes.
And sometimes you see we play a game that when it suits us, we're there, when it don't suit us, we're not there. Let us make it suit us all the time, brothers and sisters. And this is why Senator Arnold Roberts is here. And by the way, we have a lot of Roberts here in Dominica, quite a lot of Roberts. So his surname is very popular in Dominica, so he's no stranger here in Dominica. You know what I think about him? He pape mass. And when you're not afraid to speak the truth, to power, obviously you will find a way. Some will criticize you on the way, but at the end of the day, what you stand for will shine. And one thing in your life, you will see the result of your commitment, your honesty, your hard work for country and others. So brothers and sisters, I just know you're welcome, but you don't even want to be careful, you just speak for the whole night. So I'm glad that you are here. Thank you for being here. And I just want to say one thing before I call Pastor Rodney again. If you follow the news, and we're doing that, we're reading, you see in the United States, I just want to use the United States quickly, that when the country is in trouble, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party come together to look after the business of the country. In Dominica, Freedom, UWP, Labour, Civic Vibes, CCM, NJAM, all can come together when our country is in trouble for the good of our country. Those who don't want to come, it is because they are cowards, they don't like bright people, they don't like truth, and they do not like to see people move forward and be independent. So 2024, we have a mission to be positive and to achieve great things for ourselves, our family, and our country. And that's the mission we must be on from now on to the end of this year and beyond. So at this point, let me call again Pastor Randy Rodney, who will give us a spiritual reflection here tonight. And from there, the film begins. Thank you very much. PA 1195, I was told that the light is on. Check it out, otherwise when you're ready to go, you will not be able to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good night, everybody. Good night. Most welcome. Now I'm good. Welcome to our country, Senator Honorable Roberts. I do not know if I must address you as the star man. But I'm certainly glad that you are here, and I love your spirit. I'm tasked with sharing a few things with you tonight about the spiritual state of the nation, and I want you to listen. I want you to listen because we've made some drastic errors in our country, and diabolos have us by the tail. And I don't smile when I say that. I have identified 4 controlling spirits over our nation. But in sharing those with you, I want to first tell you that one of the principles that the scripture teaches is that usually the spirit of any leader sets the tone for its followers. Hence, every one of us must always be careful who we follow. Because whoever we follow, we become. Having said this, the first controlling spirit that is undoubtedly over our country is the spirit that the scripture calls in Galatians chapter 5, the spirit of selfish ambition. In Dominica we say ambiege, voas, greedy. People who are only focused on their wants and their desires. And these people, my brothers and sisters, will do anything with everybody else to get their wants and their desires met. That is a controlling spirit. One of the ways that it controls you is by making you a slave to the controller. Are you hearing that? Watch that. It's manifested in excessive greed, in nepotism. It is manifested in a spirit that says, I'd rather be red than dead. And manifested in a disregard for people. The spirit of selfish ambition. The second one, I don't have a lot of time. I'm going to share everything I have with you in that time. The second one is what the Bible again refers to the spirit of division. I call it the spirit of organized division. In Romans chapter 16, Paul makes a statement about division. And at the time, yes, he was speaking to the church, but I also say to people that when scripture speaks to church, it has inference to population. Because church is supposed to give leadership to population. Paul says to brand those who cause division among you. The Greek word means to brand them, veil. Watch them. Why? Because anybody who causes division among you have an intention to enslave you. I'm going to repeat that. Anybody who causes division among you have an intention to enslave you. Abusers love to isolate their victims from help. Watch that. They do that all the time. So we have a controlling spirit of divide and rule, a spirit of us and them. I'm glad there are so many of you represented here, representing various organizations. The third one, and I'm sure all of you know that, is the spirit of lawlessness. The spirit of lawlessness is what the devil prides himself in. He breaks law and has people follow him. That's what the devil does. One man said to me at school that when law becomes advice, chaos is inevitable. If you don't see chaos in Dominica, who are begging, you blind. Chaos everywhere. I heard the Western people this afternoon say that government give them a piece of land for them to stay and give it to them by lot number. Government take their title, give them lot number on a piece of land that they say they have got no road, no electricity, no water. But the law says that if you're subdividing land for people to build, it must have infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, if government breaking the law, what do you think of the other people? You're not there yet. This final statement. And I've been talking about that on my radio program in the morning for the last 2 weeks of you listening. What the world now calls the Stockholm Syndrome. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a place, the same place, where Pharaoh had the Israelites. I want you to think about that. Let me tell you where he had them. Pharaoh had them in a place where they were working for the country. In fact, they were the economic drivers of Egypt. And he knew that. But he enslaved them. And when they complained, he enslaved them some more. And when Moses came to tell him that God says to you to let the people go, he says, not under my watch. He now increased your work until he was forced to let them go. When they left and he realized that Egypt's economy had plummeted, he went in search after them. But here the people said, we rather the slavery than freedom. We rather they pigeonhole us and they pinch us once they give us a ham and turkey for Christmas. But sorry. I just wanted to bring, their language in here, because what they were talking about was garlics and melons, But some of you know the business of garlics and melons is turkey and ham, not true? We don't mind if they give us a house query. They can tell us and do us what they want. Once they ease us up a little bit, we will take it. We are admiring our abusers. We are lifting up our abusers. And Dominicans, by and large, have a certain loyalty to their abusers that they don't want to let go. I'm coming to the close, because I'm going to make 3 declarations here and now. Number 1. Your attendance here tonight says that we are ready to break down. Am I hearing this? Your attendance here tonight says that we will be slaves no more. Your attendance here tonight says that you can hold your turkey, you can hold your ham, you can hold your money, and let me die with my dignity. Your attendance here tonight says we're going to win this. I feel like preaching that now. Touch your neighbor, say we're going to win this. We're going to win this. You know why? Because when we put our minds together to do what we believe that is our rightful place, we are going to win this. I declare tonight, here and now, that we will win this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pastor Randy Rodney. Thank you so much. We are going to win this. And 2024 is a make or break year for Dominica and Dominicans at home and Dominicans abroad. Okay? I just want to get back into my remarks, not too long, but just to welcome in a special way Senator Annie, Robert's wife, who is with us. And I want to recognize the head table. And you have Sister Rosie from Rosie Banks. And we see Ronald Charles from the Valley. The state of the Southwest, who was recently elected deputy political leader of the United States. Next to him we have Bernard Ito, who is the leader of the Dominican Freedom Party. And of course, Senator Andy Roberts is next to Bernard, and we give a very warm welcome to you. And of course, we have Ken Vital from the National Joint Action Movement. Ken, very welcome. We have Washington Coffee from the Conservative Movement. I'm looking for Paula Celestin. She's from the Civic Vibe. She's not there yet. She was at the airport picking up the wife of Senator Roberts. So she's maybe a little, getting herself settled. We have Hillary Shanford, very well on the Electoral Commission. And we have Wayne James, the governor of Council on the Electoral Commission. And Matthew, what we're going to do and what we're doing is to give them the support to ensure that in 2024 we get reform, no gimmick, no tricks, but the reform that will suit the people of Dominica. So our election will be free and fair and free from fear. So when an election is conducted and you the people decide in a very free, transparent system that this is the party or the group you want to elect, fine. The rest of us will say congratulations, best wishes, and we are on board for Dominica's sake. But unless that happens, we'll always be quarreling and we'll be divided, and our country will suffer at the end of it. So of course, thank you again, Pastor Rodney. And the first we have here in our presentation, let's invite Washington Coffee from the Consensus Movement in the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our esteemed guest speaker, Senator Roberts, from the opposition member of Parliament in Trinidad and Tobago, affiliates of the Electoral Reform Coalition and their respective membership, members of the head table, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. It is indeed my esteemed pleasure and honor in my capacity as President of the Concerned Citizens Movement to make a brief presentation at this major public discussion on electoral reform, democracy, and good governance. I have incidentally been called upon to open the batting in cricket panel. And since in my cricketing career years, I was more so an opening batsman, I have indeed no fear to open the batting at this time. Even if my eyesight may be blurred by age, that I may not see the bouncing ball for a perfect hook over the boundary. I will use this opportunity and presentation to stress the role of civic organizations, particularly local government, as an important institutional framework in upholding our democracy, and the extent to which such structures are being undermined and given lip service by the authorities, and the extent to which the lack of comprehensive, modernized, and reformed election laws and regulations pose setbacks and present enormous challenges in our pursuit to protect and improve electoral reform, democracy, and good governance in the Commonwealth of Dominica. An overarching challenge to electoral reform, democracy, and good governance is that our electoral laws and legislative framework are archaic and not up to date. Since our independence, there may have been only minor revisions in that regard. Present-day election practice and issues require an improved, updated, and modernized legislative framework to improve checks and balances, effective monitoring, and regulatory oversight. Side by side to this challenge is the bloated list of electors that present critical challenges compounded by lack of voter ID cards. In the pursuit of free and fair elections and for a level playing field to exist, The above-mentioned challenges must receive critical attention by the authorities, particularly the Electoral Commission. A revised voters list will undoubtedly present a much more accurate picture of the voting process in Dominica. Given the extent of our population as compared to the numbers of persons on the voters list, this does not make no practical sense in a modern society. The numbers, statistics, and analysis as presented by the Electoral Commission need to be in sync with reality so as to present a true and more accurate result of elections. Village councils, town councils, city councils utilize the same voters list for election purposes. The results and analysis provided for these elections are also distorted and indeed far from being real and accurate given the bloated list of electors. The local government authorities historically have played a significant role in the management, administration, and development of local communities and municipalities. These local government authorities are endemic to the maintenance of our democracy and good governance and ensuring that resources filter to the communities and the grassroots. The present election laws and local authorities legislation present enormous challenges in the election processes of these authorities. Local government reforms recommended in reports over 23 years now are yet to receive the active attention of government, contributing to a paralysis, stagnation, and apathy in the local government system. Most of the institutional arrangements that were in place to assist with local authorities, such as the self-help scheme, with equipment and technical support, community day of service, training and development, these are being significantly undermined or budgetary allocations being significantly reduced. The adverse impact of these problems pose challenges to the operations and delivery of services of these local authorities and also pose critical threat to good governance and democracy in Dominica. The government has adopted a top-down approach in their relationship with councils, which is a deterrent to community participation and involvement. In a true pluralistic and democratic society, the voice of the citizens must be heard and expressed through a variety of civil society organizations, including as well cooperatives, farmers organizations, trade organizations, non-government and non-government organizations. These organizations will provide advocacy, representation, negotiate trade, provide their members with essential supplies, transport, etc. Many of these civil society NGOs, cooperatives, etc. are now defunct or moribund, inactive, without adequate material, technical, and financial support. This situation, ladies and gentlemen, is a threat to our food security, our independence, and democracy. No voice for our citizens and farmers. We can do better, we must do better. We call on government to give a voice to our citizens, our farmers, etc., through recognition and support to the work of civil society organizations. Let me end by recommitting and reaffirming the support and collaboration of the Concerned Citizens Movement, working with the Electoral Reform Coalition, other civil society organizations, political parties, and religious groups in the struggle and resistance for electoral reform, democracy, and good governance in the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. Thank you so much. I mentioned earlier on that we have various groups, but the business forum is here as well, and they will be making a presentation. Let's give the business forum a round of applause. We are going to talk about the issue of the electoral reform. Those of you in the back, there are a few seats in the front that you can occupy. So those of you in the back, a few seats you can occupy. So come on. There's about four seats there. Okay, we're moving, and it's supposed to be civic vibes. I'm not yet seeing follow. So we go to NJAM, National Joint Action Movement, and Ken Vital will speak for 5 minutes. Let's welcome Ken Vital.
So good to see so many of you here tonight. And hearty welcome to Senator Roberts. In the interest of time, let me just get into it. So just welcome everyone. But we sung the national anthem tonight, and I was going to really start with a biblical reference, one that I always like to use, one that says, righteousness, you know it as well as I do, exalts the nation, but sin is a reproach to the people. And then I just realized while we were singing the national anthem, that is actually in there. Do you realize that? A part of it that says, I think sons and daughters do the what's that? Righteousness. Be firm. Be fair. So I wanted to talk a little bit about governance and the importance of governance for us to have a thriving nation and a thriving economy. And that's where it really starts. When we govern our nation righteously or rightly or in a godly manner, our economy and our nation can thrive. Yeah? But clearly our nation is not thriving. And there is absolutely no disputing on this. Everybody feels it. Our economy is in a mess. For instance, a friend of mine, I called him today and he was just telling me, he was looking at the site of the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association. And there was some information that suggested that the best hotels or the busiest hotels in Dominica at the peak season has an occupancy of about 40%. Normally it's like 70, 80, 90%. Now, compare that to a country like Barbados, and I was listening to the Prime Minister of Barbados for her, I think, New Year's address to the nation, where she was basically saying that Barbados tourism has, for all intents and purposes, the still areas of this have recovered to pre-COVID levels. On the social front, our nation is infested with drugs. I heard a disturbing story from someone who said to me, there are people selling marijuana to our young children, and they are spiking it with cocaine. On the environmental front, our rivers, our natural environment, are not being adequately managed to ensure that it remains in a pristine condition so that we can continue to build tourism and we can continue to enjoy what we always like to do, go to the rivers and enjoy. That's not been done well. On the fiscal front, the government appears to be in dire straits. They cannot seem to meet even basic obligations, paying small contractors, paying gratuity on time to retiring civil servants, paying salaries and wages to some classes of seems like the whole fiscal regime is in dire straits. It will collapse anytime. We can go on explaining the situation, but I just use these few examples. But I know you know the situation just as well as I do. It's really bad. But why are we in such a bad situation? Now, some disingenuous people would quickly say that it is due to the many shocks we have had. They will talk about the global financial crisis. They will talk about Erica. They will talk about Maria, COVID. They will talk about all those things. But when are we, or when are they, going to stop making excuses and govern the nation so well that when such crises occur, we are able to rise above them? I put it to you that the greatest hindrance in our nation becoming a thriving one is political governance. In my work as an economist and a consultant throughout the region, I have found that political governance is a huge challenge in all our Caribbean countries, to varying degrees. But I put it to you that the situation in Dominica is the worst. Well, I know Senator Roberts will dispute that. He may say Trinidad is the worst, but I could tell you, we have a really bad situation. So let me give you just a few instances of our governance failures. If significant CBI's money were not misappropriated, that's a kind word, I like to say stolen, the country would have long completed or constructed an international airport. This would have contributed to the better performance of our tourism sector. It would have contributed to Kempinski and the Successor Hotel doing much better. I don't have time to tell some of my experiences going there and seeing an empty hotel, but it would have also contributed to our ability to retain Ross, which we lost. Such funds could have been used to better market our country, our destination, and develop our tourism product in such a way that our country could be a premier brand that is highly sought after. We could have invested in better shipping logistics, marketing, and institutional arrangements to support the expansion of agriculture. And the list can go on and on in terms of what could have been done better. If we had not managed the CBI program corruptly, we would have been in the position today, we would not have been in the position today where the program is crumbling. And we warned about that extensively in 2019. We warned that we were going to lose the program if we continued to mismanage the program. And that is what we are seeing today. If we were being governed rightly, we would draw on our qualified and experienced people everywhere to make a contribution to managing our country. Dominicans are bright and capable people. If we were being governed rightly, we would certainly stop putting square pegs in round holes simply out of political patronage of our political control. If we were governing rightly, our police force would do more to apprehend those who are messing our youth up by spiking marijuana with cocaine and selling them drugs. If we will manage rightly, we will put in place proper planning and implementation mechanisms rather than simply just put nice words in the budget, often reflecting proposals that either never get done or are done so badly or so corruptly that they often turn out to be just a waste of time. I could go on explaining, and if I had time, I could raise more examples. Yes, we do have other constraints to development, limited resources, both human and financial, vulnerability to the disasters and climate change, limited technological know-how, and so on. But with proper and adequate planning, taking a pragmatic approach, taking a sustainable development approach, we could do much more to overcome our challenges. Yes. But why do we not have proper planning? It is the lack of good governance, especially political governance. But how do we secure better governance? At the most fundamental level, under our current liberal democracy or multi-party democracy, we must be able to freely and fairly elect the political party or the group of candidates with the ideas that we judge that are right for taking our nation forward. But alas, we have lost our democracy. But let us resolve today that we must restore it. It is a very dark place to be when you have lost your democracy. Our country will continue to go downhill from where we are at this point in our history unless we restore our democracy in order to improve the likelihood of attaining better development results. One guy, Aristotle Onassis, said, "It is during the darkest moments that we must focus to see the light." So I need us to see the light. We have to continue to work together to ensure that there is adequate electoral reform. And because we cannot trust the current administration, we must persevere in our attempts, in our efforts, until they either do the right thing, adequate reforms, or until they resign. Get out of office. Pastor Rodney rightly spoke about Pharaoh, but I had a little something here. Let me just say this. Let me take this opportunity to say to the administration, I want you to hear me loud and clear. You should resign from office since you are clearly not a legitimate government. Don't be like Pharaoh and resist doing the right thing, as that will only bring the hammer of God upon your head. Let me call on those parliamentarians and those in the nation who instigate and support bad governance to stop it right now. Otherwise, it will not go well with you before the Lord and before His people. And you have a very limited time to heed this warning. Again, I say to you, do not be like Pharaoh. So as I end, let me just say, let us here dedicate ourselves to a few concepts. And borrowing from the Freedom Party, I think that's how they put it. Country before party. I won't expound too much on that. But to be quite honest, in some of my experience, I think if we hold on to that more dearly, we'll get better results. Respect for differing views. We have a common challenge, but we all have to understand that sometimes we will have differing views and there must be respect. But the last thing I would like to say is that what do we do about our economy? Do we simply wait until we get electoral reform? Do we simply wait until? No. But what I would suggest is maybe easier said than done, I must admit. But I think it's time that we have to take our country in our own hands. We've got to begin to do what this government will do. We've got to put them out of business by doing the difficult thing. Inspire our people, give them hope. That is one thing I have been preparing for over the last year or two. And that's something that I know many of you will join me in doing. But together, we've got to take back our country.
Thank you very much, Kent. Let me say, it is all this function here is also carried live on the Q Facebook page. So let's give you again another big round of applause. And as well as the carry as well. You know, I'm watching my phone there and I'm getting WhatsApp messages quite a lot. Dominicans abroad are with us. So while we're in our numbers, the Dominicans overseas who are tuned in, and a few of them said to me, you must recognize us too, even if we're not in the hall. So I want to say thank you for viewing, thank you for listening, and we love you where we are in the Caribbean and the world over. Let's now invite our sister, Paula Celestine, who will speak on behalf of Civic Vibes. Paula? And I just want to just a little caution there. Once you see me stand up, your time is up.
I represent Civic Vibes here this evening. Civic Vibes is a community-oriented organization in Dominica. Its objective is to foster civic engagement among the citizenry through active participation in their democracy. Voting is a civic engagement and therefore is a matter of public concern for the community of organizations like Civic Vibes. Protecting electoral integrity and enhancing voters' participation are the cornerstones of any democracy, hence the principal motivation for making this submission. Number one, a clean voters list. A voters list is a fundamental component of any voting system for several important reasons, and there are a number of them. But because of my time here this evening, I will go into every one of them. A genuine voters list helps ensure that only eligible individuals have the right to vote by maintaining an accurate and up-to-date list of registered voters. Authorities can verify the eligibilities of voters, which mean that only persons ordinarily residents in Dominica for a fixed period would be eligible to vote. According to the report of the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, dated the 5th of July 2022, commencing on electoral list, the CCJ opined that electors lists are central to legitimate and lawful elections. The support of democratic principles. A reliable voter list is essential for upholding democratic principles by ensuring that elections accurately represent the will of the people. It helps in creating a level playing field for political candidates and parties, promoting political competitions and fostering a healthy democratic environment. Civic Vibes believe that a genuine voters list is a cornerstone of a well-functioning and credible voting system. It helps uphold the principle of fairness, transparency, and legitimacy in democratic elections, while preventing fraud and ensuring that the voices of eligible citizens are accurately represented. Dominica is the only state in the Eastern Caribbean that does not require some type of identification to cast a vote. Why is that? Requiring identification contributes to overall integrity of electoral system. It helps build confidence in the electorate, whereby promoting a transparent and lawful election. When citizens perceive that measures are in place to verify the identity of voters, they are more likely to trust the electoral outcomes for the following reasons. Identification helps ensure that only eligible individuals are allowed to vote. Eligibility criteria may include age, citizenship, residency, and other factors. Checking identification helps confirm that voters meet these criteria before casting their ballots. Reduces monopoly of information. In Dominica, the state-owned media is dominated by the ruling party, creating a monopoly on information. Equal access help prevent the misuse of state resources for partisan purposes. Therefore, Civic Rights asserts that all political parties have equal access to state-owned media in order for them to put forward their argument. Electoral campaign finance. Electoral campaign finances plays a critical role in elections and a democratic process. Fund and spending disclosures. All funds used in an election must be disclosed. Cap on campaign expenses. There should be a reasonable cap on campaign expenses that does not favor the incumbent. Donors' identification. There should be no secret money spent in election. Secret money keeps voters in the dark. Keeping secret money out of election is critical to keeping election free and fair. Wealthy groups should not be able to influence and disrupt the electoral process with their excessive secret donations. Election campaigning occupies a large period in the political space. However, setting a specific time for campaign will yield more robust campaign with a more engaged electorate. In conclusion, Civic Rights fully support all criteria and elements that will ensure that the process of free and fair election will reflect the genuine will of the people in legitimate and in any outcome. Tonight, dear my people, we all have to stand as one. Many times, some say we are too divided. The only thing that can have this which passes and poses as a government out of office is when everyone stands together. Electoral reform is a must. Cleaning the voters list, voter ID card and all of this is a must. And if they will not give it to us, we have to share it.
Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you. In fact, I'm getting messages. Somebody said to add to what Ken said, if we will manage properly, Dominica would host the ICC Cricket World Cup matches in June. Another person said to me, thank you, Marcel. From abroad, thank you, Marcel. We are even too. So thank you for mentioning us. And one said the Prime Minister is free more. So he's a financial burden for the country. So he can free himself up. You know the famous saying that someone said to me, Bubudi Zadije Okay, we have to move on because that's okay, thank you. Alright? But now we have our good friend here with us, Hillary. I've heard him several times, many times, talking about electoral reform. Let's welcome in a big way. Everyone. Protocol has been established. Let me just single out our esteemed speaker, Senator Anil Roberts. Welcome. You have become a household name. Let me extend a special thank you to Leonard Slayton for expressing his confidence in myself and my James.
extreme respect for. And he's one of the people who have expressed concern for Dominicans having their hands in their own governance, having a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It has been a long journey to electoral reform. Many years. While some countries within the region has gotten electoral reform within a matter of 3 to 6 months. Dominica has been going for years and years and years. I want to say clearly, and I want to ask you our forgiveness, myself and James. We have done everything in our power to see where we can bring electoral reform to this country. But the process has been long and hard. You all understand the composition of the commission. It is 2 people from the government, the ruling government, and 1 person, they say, from the president. Well, the constitution says from the president. We have to respect that. But we all know in Dominica, the president is a ceremonial thing. But I don't know what to say. But what we've been seeing is no disrespect. It's no disrespect. We have not seen the independence of any president in this country. And the president elected by the president is always a crony of the government. We have had Gerald Burton, who did everything in his power to frustrate electoral reform. Brothers and sisters, without electoral reform, you have no say in the governance of your country. You are just going through a motion. Going to the polls, put in a vote that will never make a difference. We saw the government fighting in every way to do a confirmation exercise overseas. And they want to choose where they go to confirm people. Brothers and sisters, we fought that tooth and nail, myself and James, back and forth. It got so bad that there are times when even if a member of the government votes for us, I think there were 2 times when a member of the government voted for us, myself, Wayne, and 1 person. You need 3 people to make it law. When we put it to the vote, Duncan Stowe, the chairman of the commission today, fought for over half an hour, fighting with his own self. We told him, Mr. Chairman, we have voted, and it becomes law. He stayed there going back and forth and mash up the meeting. Some of you had a certain level of confidence in Duncan Stowe. Some of you, when he was appointed, some of my good friends feel Duncan Stowe will bring a difference to the commission. He made it worse. Let me say to you, when you have every member of a commission on the government side and the president nominee being a passport seller, having offshore banks agent, do you really expect to get electoral reform? When 1 man within the commission the man went in at the commission in politics for, within a few years being a CBI agent, the man can now give people $50,000 loan within a day. That man will never do anything to upset the status quo. So if we sit here waiting on Wayne James and Hillary to do it all by themselves, I guarantee you these tyrants will never give up. So on that note, I want to call on you Dominicans. If it means myself and Wayne have to be leading that fight, whatsoever death follow, we will lead that fight. We have Pastor Randy set the pace. Pastor Randy just set the pace earlier on. And we can do it. We can do it. But we must be united for that fight. Let me just touch on the engagement of Sir Dennis Byron. Sir Dennis Byron was brought in here, and I am no lawyer, but I'm no fool. We saw clearly that the appointment of Sir Dennis Byron was viral. The appointment of Sir Dennis Byron was wrongly done. We fought it at the commission for a while, but we took a position, we engaged Lennox with that as well, and we decided whether it is not the right way to bring him in, but the government can get anybody to have consultation with. And we decided we want to work with the commission. We will see where he's going. It appeared that Sir Dennis was doing an excellent job. Excellent job. So much so that Sir Dennis would shaft Malik and shaft Lennox and say to them, it is unfortunate that I have to be disagreeing with two senior lawyers so many times in one day. What he saw that they were not interested in reform. They were guarding their millions and they were just selfish people waiting to protect the millions. So it appeared that Sir Dennis was on track. Lo and behold, certain things happened. When we realized that Sir Dennis was going to bring his final report, we planned a meeting. The commission agreed for a meeting. A few members of the commission decided never and called Sir Dennis. I'm just reporting to you what has transpired at the commission. So I hope you will bear with me. When Sir Dennis, when they decided not going to have a meeting with Sir Dennis, I called on Mr. James and I said, Mr. James, we have to have a last gasping at that straw. Called on Sir Dennis. And we said, Sir Dennis, the commission has taken a decision to have a meeting with you, but certain instructions were given to carry out that meeting. So I said, Sir Dennis, if you cannot have the meeting, let's just suggest something. That you give every member of the commission a chance to make submission on the report. Private and individual submission. I cannot see anything wrong with that. We are members of the commission. So Dennis gave every member midnight of the next day to make submissions. When James and I did put submissions to Sir Dennis, the commission wrote a letter to Sir Dennis, trashing him down, attacking him, telling him that you are, in fact, causing confusion within the commission by asking members of the commission to give submission. I mean, that is crazy. For Duncan Scott to sit down and write that kind of garbage to a whole former president of the CCG, telling him he causing confusion by asking for submission. I don't know why. But that cannot be right. So Dennis buckled up. He never considered our submission. Buckled up. I don't know what was done, what was offered, what was what. I don't know what happened. Anyway, we saw the final report come off. Up till today, that's how many is how many months now? Maybe more than 7 months, 8 months? 7 tomorrow. 7 tomorrow. Look the expert on the floor. Look the expert on the floor. Lennox Lincoln, the expert on the floor, says 7 tomorrow. We have tried everything to have a meeting to discuss the final report. For nothing, they want to come and defend the final report. We are prepared, Will and myself, to go out there and push against this final report. We will do everything we can in our power to fight against it. But I want to urge you, the people here, look at the kind of crowds we have here today. This is just an in-house meeting. You must tell your friends, each and every one of you here, must tell 5 people, 10 people. We have to take back the governance of our country. We must make it a mission, because you know what happened? If we are to sit here and just agree what we did is enough, or we cannot stop them, then this and that, you know what happened? Your son, your grandson, my grandson will never have a chance to be a prime minister in this country. How impossible opposition in this country cannot be for oneself. If we sit here and we allow things to go the way it is going, our children will never have an opportunity to shine in this country. And these people are so, I mean, let's say one say two. These people are excellent politicians, you know, in a crooked way. Maybe in a crooked way. Call a spade a spade. Because they're doing it successfully. Why Lennox don't want to play politics and they always play politics in a clean way? These guys don't care about clean. And one of them said it on the radio. Politics have nothing clean about it. Anything you come and fight, that's what they tell you. And we still get playing clean politics. I think for once, if it means we have to get in the dirt and fight them at the game, and then we can bring clean politics to this country. Something has to be done and must be done now. These people went out there, and you know, it's consultation, mischief, I call it. In their consultation, they prepare their people with total misinformation. You hear it there, you hear it over there, you hear it down there, every single consultation meeting there. When they tell you, all the opposition asking for campaign financing law because they want in the law, they want the government to finance the opposition. There was nothing to do with that. Nothing in campaign finance reform had to do with the government or any party getting money from the government. That was never in the discussion. But when they say it once, and you know what the difference are like. Yeah. I mean, you know when you have mutual battery, they head in one way and you just follow everybody. That thing went out and it appeared that was part of the Michael. It appeared that this was part of the reform. But at no time there was any discussion to do with, and I want Dominicans to hear it clearly. And you must tell them when you go out there, no time, not once, not for a second, that there was any discussion of government giving any party, opposition or anybody money for reform. Doesn't really want to say. Yeah, but let me just say, time is short, but I want to stand here firm and tell you there's nothing I'm scared of. And as a Dominican, they did it in the 70s. Why can't we, don't get blood, why can't we stand up? Why can't you stand up and demand electoral reform? Go, you cannot just sit here. When you are called out, each and every one of you take somebody, bring 2-3 for people, and come on the street, and we should demand electoral reform until we get it. The farmers should bring food, the farmers should bring food, the business people should bring food, and if it means you have to stay in the streets of it, until you get it.
Thank you. Thank you, Hillary. In fact, today I met one of them, and you know we announced this gathering, and we bring Senator Roberts here, and immediately they took to the airwaves attacking people. And I was told what they had to say. I said, you know, I'm in this thing long enough to ignore them. But if you take me to church, you brought me there to pray and to look after my soul. If you take me to the altar, I must take you to the altar as well. And I made that very clear to our neighbor right this afternoon who was speaking to me about that. I said, what we must do, we put a proposal forward. You must come and show where we are wrong by giving the facts. Don't go and attack people and so forth, because that does not help our society. Our next speaker is Wade James, and you know the two of them, you know themselves. And just to back.
correct scene correct this evening. My scene correct this evening. I want to do a little exercise before I make my presentation. But before I do this exercise, I want to first of all say thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to do protocol has been established, but it would be remiss of me not to identify and point out Senator Roberts and his wife to be here. The exercise that I want us to do right now, before I make my presentation, I would like every one of you to stand. Hold hands with the next person standing by you for me, please, and hold your hands up. And I want everyone to repeat after me. From tonight, we will fear no more. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I am here tonight as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Dominica. But the Constitution of Dominica has given certain individuals some authority, and as such, Honorable Lennox Linton, who was the first opposition leader who gave Hillary Shillingford and myself the opportunity to serve as members of the Electoral Commission, I want to publicly say thanks to you. Honorable Jess McCall, the Honorable Opposition Leader at present, and her team has also entrusted Hillary Shillingford and myself to be serving at this time, and I want to say thanks to her and her team at this time. It stands for business, the people's business, your business. Hillary Shillingford and I have always said to you all that we are very clear in our head. And you know, individuals can say whatever they want to say about Honorable Lennox Linton. But as Hillary Shillingford has said, this is somebody that I hold very dear to my heart. On the first occasion, when we were given that opportunity to be members of the Electoral Commission, Honorable Lennox Linton told Hillary and myself, gentlemen, I will not be giving you any instructions as members of the Independent Electoral Commission. I want you all to go out and do the people's business. And this is what we stood for. Electoral reform. What is it the people of Dominica has been clamoring for? And what is it that Hillary Shillingford and Wayne James have been fighting for? We have been fighting for cleaning the voters list. I do not understand what is so difficult about cleaning the voters list. I do not know. It cannot be right for me to be standing here this evening. An election is called next month. And my dear mom, who has passed a few years ago, may her soul rest in peace, name would appear on the voter list. And that's what we have been fighting for, Hillary and myself, to get a clean voters list. We have been fighting for a voter ID card. You cannot go to any financial institution in Dominica is saying to us and want you to believe that you do not need a voter ID card to ensure that you presenting yourself at the polling station is the person that you are saying you are. But Hillary Sheriff and I, we're fighting on. We're fighting for campaign finance reform. I know there are some cricketers here in this house. I see one right here, two of them sitting right there. We want a level playing field. It is just impossible for you to tell me that an incumbent government can have millions of dollars and any other political party or independent candidate who wants to compete against that party, they only have a few $100. How can that be a level playing field? When West Indies come to Dominica and India and they go to the Windsor Park, they're playing on the same playing field. That is what we want when we talk about electoral reform. So as a result, we want to ensure that campaign finance legislation is put in place so that every political party and every independent candidate can have a fair chance at the elections. Then what next we fighting for? Access to state media. And when you hear state media, it means it belongs to you, it belongs to me, it belongs to all of us. And as such, we must get access to what belongs to us. How can a man tell me that when I leave here this evening that I cannot enter my home that belongs to my family and myself? That's ridiculous. So, Hillary Sheriff and I, we are fighting for this. And we're going to continue to fight. Hillary said to you all, we need your support. I will say to you all this evening, at this present moment, we are facing a very important time in our history. And I want you all to listen to me well on this one. There is no functioning electoral commission at this time. Because, as Honorable Leonard Clinton said, 7 months ago, a report was handed down by Sir Dennis Byron. After hours, sleepless nights, members of the Electoral Commission engaging with Sir Dennis Byron. Sir Dennis Byron engaged with civil society and political parties. The Electoral Commission, of which Hillary Sheriff and myself is part of, we have not met to discuss that report. They are reporting to you because we are working for you. We want to ask each and every one of you all this evening to give us all of the support that we require. We will give you all the information that we have available, that we think it is in your interest, and all we need is the support. I'm hearing now that after this confusion that they had going around, that very soon there's going to be a report and it's going to go to the Electoral Commission. Well, let me say to you all, yes, it's going to come to us, because they're required to send it to us. But as soon as this report gets into my hand, and I'm sure Hillary hand, we will make it available to you people of Dominica. I'm going to end by saying just a few things that I want you all to ponder. And I know Senator Daniel is going to be familiar with what I'm going to say, because they have just laid to rest former Prime Minister Basil and his daughter, when asked by a reporter stating that they wanted to name the Piago, rename the Piago Airport after Basil Pandey, his daughter said, if he was here, he would not want anything to be named after him. What he would want most of all is constitutional reform. here Richmond and myself, ladies and gentlemen, what we want to be remembered for is fighting for electoral reform. Finally, sweet words are not always true. True words are not always sweet. But no matter what words can say, action will always tell the truth. Let us all allow our actions to tell the truth. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Wayne. The points have been raised here, very, very good points. Nice points. But we have to speed up now because the radio will leave us at a certain time, and we want the nation to hear Mr. Roberts. So now I'm going to call Darren Bob, who will present on behalf of the Business Forum. Darren Bob.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Head table, good evening. Welcome all visitors. Thank you for being with us here. I'm going to read to you a letter that bears my signature on behalf of the Dominica Business Forum to the Prime Minister of Dominica. I have to run through this really quick in the interest of time, so just try to keep up with me as best as you can. It's written on the Dominica Business Forum Inc. letterhead, 11 September 2023. Please remember that date. Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister and Leader of the House of Assembly, Office of the Prime Minister, 6th Floor Financial Center, blah, blah, blah. Electoral reform in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Dear Honorable Prime Minister, this correspondence is addressed to you in your capacity as the Leader of the Parliament of the Commonwealth of Dominica and the one charged with the ultimate authority of presenting legislation to Parliament. Since January 2019, the Dominica Business Forum Inc. has taken an active role in the electoral reform process and was responsible for bringing together the Electoral Reform Group, which presented a comprehensive report with recommendations for electoral reform to the nation prior to the 2019 general elections. The Dominica Business Forum Inc. is the only entity to engage Sir Dennis Byron in the public consultation during the execution of his assignment to review the existing electoral legislation in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Following the submission of Sir Dennis Byron's report with draft bills and regulations, the Dominica Business Forum Inc. on August 3, 2023 convened a national consultation to review the subject draft legislation, at which contributions were made by the United Workers' Party, the Dominica Freedom Party, Team Unity Dominica, the Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches, the Dominica Christian Council, Dr. Irwin Andre, Dominica Public Service Union, Concerned Citizens of Dominica, Mr. Julian Johnson, who was represented by Mrs. Llewellys Naididi, other organizations and individuals. The Dominica Labour Party, the Attorney General and the Chairman of the Electoral Commission were also invited. May I say, they were not present. A summary of the August 3rd DBF Inc. consultation is attached. The government of Dominica recently held national consultations within a 3-week span to allow the citizenry to make their contributions on the Sir Dennis Byron draft, bills and regulations submitted for consideration to improve Dominica's electoral reform processes. Sadly, there has been much and unfortunate concerns about the tone of the discussions captured at the recently convened electoral reform consultations organized by the government of Dominica and the Dominica Labour Party, which concluded on Thursday, 31st August 2023. It appeared that the consultation process was reduced into a battle between those who are in support of the government's position on overseas voters, national identification cards, and on limited control of campaign financing, and those who are advocating for a solution to the vexing issues of the existing electoral process. The Dominica Business Forum Inc., in collaboration with other civil society organizations, including the political parties, has presented recommendations to resolve the vexing issues of electoral reform. There is no doubt that Sir Dennis Byron's failure to conduct this type of open consultation requires that a total review of his draft legislation to incorporate the recommendations of the consultations is necessary, and given the interest of the Dominica Labour Party as a beneficiary to the electoral process, an independent arbiter is required to make organizations and individuals have requested the establishment of a broad-based committee which has the tacit support of the DDFA to take over the process with the collaboration and support of the international observer organizations. The electoral reform process is at a critical juncture, and if not handled in a transparent manner, there is a risk of the process being disintegrated into chaos and the matter remaining disastrous, unresolved, even though a version of the legislation is enacted in Parliament with the government's 19-2 Parliament majority. Therefore, to advance the process to a satisfactory and reasonable outcome, the following is recommended. 1. The government of Dominica establishes an electoral reform review committee to review the Cededis Virus submitted draft bills and regulations, as well as to incorporate the recommendations made at the various consultations where necessary. 2. The committee should comprise of representatives of all bona fide political parties, the Attorney General, the private sector, bar association, church, trade union, youth, and other sectors deemed necessary. 3. A qualified and competent person should be appointed to chair the review committee. The chairman could be selected from a very short list of renowned and distinguished Dominicans such as Mr. Ray Harris, Mr. Julian Johnson, Mr. John Iliu, Charles, and supported by one representative each from the OAS, Commonwealth, CARICOM, and the OAS Secretariat. The international organizations, number 4, the international organizations who have observed the process should be requested to assist financially and with human expertise. Number 5, the committee be given 2 calendar months to complete the review process and present the final draft legislation to the Honorable Prime Minister, Leader of Parliament, which should be made public. 6, the review committee's work should be submitted to the Electoral Commission for its review as requested or as required by Dominica's Constitution. As part of this review process, the Electoral Commission should also conduct a public consultation before submitting the reviewed draft bills and regulations to the government. Last but not least, number 7, Parliamentary representatives should be encouraged to discuss the draft legislation with their constituents and should be allowed to vote independently in Parliament, free of interference from their political party. The DDFA holds very strongly to the view of the electoral reform legislation should be crafted, debated, and passed into law for the benefit of the nation and must not be titled to the advantage of any political party. It is our genuine desire to witness the legislation of revised electoral reform in the Commonwealth of Dominica, which will reflect the right to free and fair elections that will be the envy of the Commonwealth nations as we promote genuine democracy. In anticipation of a federal response for peace and tranquility of the nation, the Dominica Business Forum Inc. wishes that good judgment will prevail in your consideration. Sincerely, Darrell Bob, President, Dominica Business Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, I said remember the date, 11th September 2023. You're right. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. Move straight into Dolatito, leader of the Dominican Freedom Party. Let's welcome Dolatito as the leader of the presentation.
Good evening. Protocol has already been established, so I won't waste any time doing anything further. We all know who's here and why we're here. But of course, Senator Roberts, we all recognize him as an invited guest. I have been allocated 10 minutes, and I promise you I will take no more because the show run on time. So we have to be a disciplined society in everything that we do. All right. So that's to welcome Senator Roberts to our island. And I am profoundly grateful to attend here today. I mean, if you look around, clearly there is something happening, right? There is something happening, and that's something you should be proud of. If you look around at the room in field, something is happening in our country. Some shift is occurring, and we have to be very, very proud of that. My fellow presenters have already made exceptional contributions to the threats facing Dominica's democracy. So on behalf of the Dominican Freedom Party, I want to add an additional dimension to the discussion. And I think it's a dimension that we have not discussed enough, but it is something that the Freedom Party really focuses on. And that dimension is an immediate and profound conversation on how the values and beliefs that we hold as Dominicans has a profound effect in collectively shaping the nature of democracy on our island. So although I am a leader of a political party, I don't want to talk to you as a voter this evening. I want to talk to you as a fellow architect of our future. For while the grand tapestry of governance, formal rules and institutions provide the skeletal structure of our democracy, it is the individual threads of our personal values that weave the intricate patterns of our democracy. Let me expand on this a little. It is crucial to emphasize that it is not merely a constitutional document or other written documents or rules that guarantee our democratic values. For if we look, we have seen all over the world seemingly impeccable constitutions succumb to oppressive regimes, while others like the UK thrive with no written constitution. What does that tell you? This illustrates starkly that this key to a democracy's health instead lies in the strong mental and emotional commitment that we have to the values that underpin democratic ideals. Democracy, my friends, is not confined to the pages of a constitution, but it resonates in the heart of each one of us. Dominica's democracy is thus a living, breathing entity, sculpted by our own unwavering commitment to values such as respect, tolerance, and empathy. It is in fact these values that form the bedrock of a living, thriving democracy. Democracy thus goes way beyond the freedom to express individual views. It is also about respecting the diversity of opinions that enrich our society. So, as I hope is becoming clear as I speak, hopefully, that as citizens we are not the recipients of democratic privileges or ideals. What we are is in fact active participants and custodians of its essence. And as a result, no one has to give us democracy or even democratic reform, for it is within us that we create it. Always remember that. If we fail to grasp this essential truth, then democracy risks losing its essence and merely becoming a formal procedural framework. We may then remain fixated in perpetual debates about electoral reform procedures, voters' lists, and campaign regulation. Now, do not get me wrong. These are very important aspects to our democracy. But what I will assert and what I say to you tonight is, while these aspects are important, they alone cannot ensure our salvation. Let us ask ourselves, if tomorrow all these procedural aspects were to be granted, would we witness a transformative shift in our political culture, or in our political consciousness? Will these formalities guarantee democracy and foster adherence to the law by those in power? No, mark my words. But what will transform us and save us is a profound love for core values such as respect, forbearance, collaboration, accountability, and above all, an aversion to tyranny. The indwellings of these values will prevent our police service and others from taking up arms against us or otherwise abuse citizens, if ordered to do so by a wannabe dictator. We must embrace such values that reject authoritarianism, the persecution of political enemies, factionalism, poor cooperation, and the admiration of strongman dictators. It is these values, my friends, and I want you to reflect upon them. I want us to be sober, serious citizens in Dominica, because That is what it will require. The enthusiasm and the fight, yes, but it will require sober reflection on our own role on how to make sure there's democracy in our land. My fellow citizens, this deeper understanding of democracy should make it clear to you that democracy is not a passive spectator sport. It requires our active, muscular participation, whether through voting, community service, or grassroots activism. Our personal values must now manifest in actions that fortify the very foundations of our democracy and way of life. These are times crucial, my friends. This is a somber moment when we may truly be the generation that has to live with the shame of losing our democracy. But let me tell you this is actually our moment to shine, not to despair. It is our shared commitment to justice, fairness, and the rule of law that will guide us through these turbulent times. Therefore, this is not just a time for restoration. It is an opportunity, I tell you, to forge a new consciousness and a new national destiny. I am happy to embrace this challenge. The DFP is happy to embrace this challenge. I know all my partner organizations here today are happy to embrace this challenge. And I look out at you and your faces. I know you too are ready to embrace this challenge. But I want to caution us. It will not be easy. The challenges we face, and I want us to be realistic, because it's only in reality we can transform things. The challenges we face are long-standing, divisive dysfunctions that has lingered on as a legacy of enslavement and colonization. Divisiveness based on shades of color, economic status, between villages and communities, and distrust of those who resemble us. Dysfunctions such as where everyone aspires to be the chief, but no one wants to be an Indian. Where trust in each other's capacity is lacking. Where intrigue, backstabbing, ego justification, and so on is what drives us. So now when this time is crucial, virtue is no longer a luxury. It is instead now an imperative, a necessity for our continued existence as a free, proud, progressive people. So perhaps history had to bring us to this point, to this breaking point under this regime, so that we could finally become the people that we needed and always were destined to be. Perhaps the oppression of this regime was the force necessary to force us to reflect deeply, to dismantle these crippling dysfunctions within our society. So now we must move forward with determination, but also with maturity. And true maturity must be demonstrated by all of us in not perpetuating this division. Therefore, I ask all of us, I include myself, to carefully scrutinize and test the maturity of those of us who aspire to lead you in this time crucial. Hold us to account to demonstrate that we get it, that we have transcended, or at least are in the process of transcending the blindness of ego, and demonstrate a spirit of kindness, cooperation, consideration, fraternity, and values that prioritize the welfare of others. These then are the existential questions and actions we must finally confront in this dark hour. My friends, every generation of Dominicans encounters challenges. This is our moment to do so. How will we respond? Will we continue to bend the act of justice in the future in Dominica towards justice? Those who sought independence did it. It is our time to step up to our responsibilities and to continue that progress of justice to a better Dominica. It's our time to sacrifice and fight with the promise of a glorious outcome. If we undertake this journey, we will birth nothing less than a new land destined for a great future on this planet. We do not aspire high enough. We look for small things. We think we don't lift our eyes enough, up enough. We need to be a great nation, but to do so, we have to embrace the values that get us there. So, let us end this time of living lives of quiet desperation under this regime. Let us end this suffering now. Let us dispel the darkness and shroud us with the light of our character and determination. This is our time to make future generations proud. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bernal, and we move quickly to Ronald Charles, the Deputy Political Leader of the United States.
Good evening to everybody. Protocol has been established. Dear friends, Dominicans, the United Workers' Party and its leadership have tabled its position and have made several recommendations in respect to electoral reform. But more importantly, we did not only make recommendations, but we took action. Or one may say we stood our ground with the support of the majority of Dominicans by not participating in the 2022 sham-tinted general election. As a preamble to my presentation on behalf of the political leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, the President, Mr. Leonard Clinton, and the entire executive of the United Workers' Party, permit me to reiterate our position on electoral reform. The United Workers' Party proposed changes to the Constitution and our electoral laws with the knowledge and understanding that the current electoral law process focused primarily on amendments to the existing election legislation. The Registration of Electors Act and the House of Assembly Elections Act. The proposed amendments to the Constitution are not intended to interfere with the priority attention the nation expects to be given to enacting the revised laws. For example, the Constitution Amendment, a fixed date for general election. Additionally, the Registration of Electors Act, for example, consistent with the Constitution, only those persons who are ordinarily resident in Dominica and those who are no longer ordinary resident in Dominica for less than 5 years should be eligible to vote in elections in Dominica.
I agree with that.
For example, the campaign financing regulation. The regulation of election campaign financing is necessary because money cannot allow to have controlling influence over our political system, such that election can be determined and or purchased by big money interests. Exactly. Electoral reform must include solutions to the critical money in politics, issues that are negatively affecting our elections and or the election process. The purpose of this discussion organized by ERC, the Electoral Reform Commission, is collective in its aims and objectives, and that my contribution is to examine the justice system and or the judicial system and how directly and or indirectly the lack of urgent electoral reform affects the functionality of our fragile economy and the justice system. Let me start by defining democracy. Put it literally in a literal context, it means rule by the people. Democracy is a system of government in which laws, policies, leadership, and a major undertaking of the state, or order polity are directly or indirectly decided by the people. What is the opposite of democracy? In my mind, it is dictatorship. Dictatorship is a government or a social situation where one person makes all the rules and decisions without the input of other persons. Dictatorship implies absolute power. What is the judicial or legal system? In short, justice system is a legal structure or system that is designed to judge in a general sense who should be accorded a benefit or burden when the law is applied to a person's factual circumstances. What is electoral reform? It is a change in the electoral system which alters how public desires are expressed in election results. Why electoral reform? Because the present system is unfair and does not give a true reflection of the majority of Dominicans, both here and abroad. In the absence of electoral reform, the country has been saddled with a government which, in short, with victory at the polls, have done very little to improve the lives of Dominicans. Consequently, our economy continues to deteriorate with the rising level of youth unemployment, rising poverty, declining growth, and a number of social problems, including violence and crime, which now impact the youth and the elderly. The neglect of the Dominican economy by this administration has been total and complete. Agriculture abandoned, and so too manufacturing, construction, and other service sectors. While the lack of reform has given the incumbents a guarantee to win in the country, people have been the ones affected. Meaningful electoral reform to include cleansing of the voters list, issuing of ID cards, access to the radio station, and campaign financing will ensure that the people of Dominica get a chance to hear and select the party or group of people which they believe can best move this country. Otherwise, we are stuck with a government which could care less about the economic hardships, about the suffering of our people. Friends, electoral reform should never be an option, but instead it should strengthen our democracy and in the process alleviate the economic conditions in the country and offer a better and improved way of life for our people. What is the commonality between Navili or Navilny? It's Russian, so forgive my pronunciation. Saki Noskaya, Monterey and Zomora, Mehul Choksi, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, Mr. Lennox Linton, Hector John, and our good friend Bosso, Mr. Boston. It is that all of the above mentioned have been receiving the end of the abuse of the justice system to dint of a perception of prosecutorial immunity on the part of governing elites. No, because of the little time you're trying to push it a little. Navalny is a Russian opposition leader persecuted by prosecution. Saki no Kaya, and I'm praying that we don't have Russians in here. I do apologize for the pronunciation. Is the opposition leader, and we have Mr. Monterey and Zamora, a Catholic priest from Nicaragua, persecuted by prosecution for helping protesting university students. Mehul Choksi, a Caribbean citizen, was criminally prosecuted by prosecution. And last but certainly not least, our own local opposition entities in the persons of Dr. Thompson Fontaine and Mr. Lennox Linton are currently being persecuted and prosecuted before the courts. My friends, Dominicans, you may ask, why do these ruling elites seem so unafraid of the consequent negative political and social repercussions of their weaponization of the legal system to attain political advantage? Permit me to suggest that it's because these governing elites have thoroughly surveyed each and every element of the respective electoral laws and system, and have thus unethically exploited every loophole and weakness uncovered, to the point where they exploit these loopholes to their perpetual, unfettered advantage. This, what I have just explained to you, can be described as what we call electoral capture. And as we have seen, electoral capture leads inevitably to legal capture. The erosion of the legal accountability is one of the major casualties of the legal capture. Thereby, the governing authorities get to violate the rights of the citizens with unchecked impunity. If one must know of the consequences of the legal capture, one may ask Mr. Linton, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, again, of millions of taxpayers' dollars sent to Trinidad, and I do apologize, Mr. Roberts, sent to Trinidad while the NEP workers are struggling to get paid. Or you may ask the Speaker of the House as to what was so special about his case that it was discontinued. Or you may choose to ask of the nollie-crossing of the bribery and treating case by the DPP. Or you may want to ask Mr. Linton, yet again, as to why the police is refusing to follow up on the case of trespass against his house and his family. And so, ladies and gentlemen, an electoral reform that empowers the people of peaceful change, their leaders, through the act of voting. An electoral reform that delivers fundamental electoral integrity will serve to more firmly remind the governing authorities of their tenure. And so the free justice system for absolute thought of legal capture, with the robust and effective electoral reform, those who serve the state through the legal system will find the courage again to break the burdensome shackles that would blackmail their conscience against what we know is just. All for each, and each for all. Thank you for the opportunity. On behalf of the United Workers' Party, let me reiterate, we will stand firm and we will continue to be part and parcel of electoral reform. And we will do it without fear, and we will do it in unity, because unity is strength.
Thank you so much, Ronald Charles. We move right away to Rosa Park, representing Rosa Park.
Good night, Dominica, on land, online, and to Trinidad and Tobago in the house. I hate to rush, but tonight my first assignment is to rush us to rescue Dominica. We need to rush. It is urgent. This is 2024, and all what we've heard before and we've heard so far tonight is the war on our democracy. Dominica has been at war for at least 20 years. At stake have been and continue to be our democracy, our sovereignty, and our human dignity. I'm going to focus on how the war has suffocated and crippled our democracy and the rising cost of it all. By definition, war is a state of armed conflict between different nations or states or different groups within a nation or state. In our case, the war is between the government and the citizenry. As the leader of a women's organization, and as you know, generally, women stay at home and the men fight the war. But I'm calling on every woman in Dominica to come under the front line to fight this war, to save Dominica, or rather to end this war. Is it an armed conflict? Yes. It is an armed conflict with the ammunition being unrelenting gunfire and bombs of psychological and economic abuse of a nation, preceding, in between, and following rigged elections. And of course, the conscious defiance against proper electoral reform. Every move of individuals or group of citizens, as you already know, to condemn the war, stop the war, or simply voice dissent is met with more of the same, gunfire and bombs on your minds. Our hope in the police force, whose motto is justice for all, has been significantly diminished. Our dream that at least one Attorney General in the last 20 years would be true to their call to defend Mad Dominic and her democracy has remained just a dream. Until last year, that dream turned into a nightmare when the present Attorney General, Levi Peter, called one of two Cardinal women vying for president a drumstick in the House of Parliament. The war on our democracy using ammunition, as mentioned earlier, rigged elections, refusal to allow electoral reform, psychological and economic abuse, and I dare add, and I did not copy Pastor Rodney's note, and I dare add, even with witchcraft, has cost us 20 years. It has cost us our sovereignty, our national pride, our youth, our children, our families, our healthcare system, our agricultural and business industry, our institutions, our economy, a massive brain drain, and to a great extent the church. And it will cost us our future if we do not stop this war. I'm going to skip, in the interest of time, my long list that you won't be able to put, we won't be able to put a total value, because I talk about the cost of the war. We won't be able to put a value to it, but you've heard many of my colleagues mention the things that have, basically the casualties and the fatalities of war. That list is exhaustive. It is longer, it gets longer and longer. So too the cost increases, as it always does, the longer the war goes on. But hear this. Those who support the war do not expect that they will become casualties and fatalities, because they often are very confident that they will win the war. But I have news for them. You who support the war on democracy in Dominica are already casualties and fatalities. But this is a new beginning and a new year, and I invite you to change your mind. Change is necessary and healthy. The year 2022, December 6 to be specific, will go down in the annals of our history as the time when the war on democracy in Dominica intensified like never before. It was the day that Roosevelt Skerrit used as his excuse to go back to Parliament as a Prime Minister without a single vote cast for him. It can be considered, according to our friend Lofty, the 5 Ds, the day Dominica's democracy died. But tonight, we are here to intensify our fight and to save our democracy. Saving our democracy is equal to rescuing Mad Dominic from the hands of the abuser, who constantly remind us, if you are not red, I will kill you. And indeed, we have witnessed many economic, psychological, social, political, and spiritual deaths. Tonight, I challenge those of you who are supporting the war on our democracy. And I know that's not you here. They're watching online, they're spying. I challenge them tonight. To get in the front line of the war, to get out of the front line on the war. Stop the gunning down and the bombing. You also who are on the fence watching and praying that a stray bullet will not knock you down. You who are on the fence saying you are not in politics. Stop deceiving yourself. Stop deceiving Dominica. move out from the crime scene and get on the solution team. To the current parliamentarians who by your decision to run for office in an election not sanctioned by we the people, just so you could further frustrate and suffocate and pervert the cause of democracy and justice in Dominica, I lay it on your conscience this 11th day of January 2024 and ask you to humbly do the right thing. Step out, step up, and free Dominica. Free us, free Dominica. To you, the first unusual suspect, Roosevelt Skerrit, I'm watching you in your caucus here tonight. I declare Daniel 5:25. Writing on the wall is for you. God has numbered your days, sir, and brought it to an end. You have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. The Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, you two are up front and center in the war in Dominica, preventing democracy. I call on you to relocate those barricades. DBS, our national broadcaster, you have failed us in this season as far as democracy is concerned. Up to this point, my dear audience, you have heard information and voices you are familiar with, but tonight we bring you a new voice and a new beginning. A new beginning of better together, stronger together. We can only win when we are together. Just as it takes a village to raise a child, so it takes a region to secure each other's democracy. So tonight, we bring you not a regional security system with guns and tear gas and bandits that shouted no to electoral reform and democracy in Dominica in 2019. But instead, we bring you a Trinidad and Tobago brother with regional solidarity and solution. To build on what we already have, because Dominica must rise again. Dominica is bound to rise again. The Caribbean must rise to support each other in integrity and democracy, and which should translate to a prosperous and safe region for us all. Dominica, God bless.
Wonderful. We have some good news. Carrie and Q will stay on until our guest speaker. At this point, I'm going to invite Darren Bob to give, his profile is the last one, but we'll do a small one tonight. So Darren Bob.
Thanks again, Bosco. Ladies and gentlemen, they say behind every good man is a good woman. Let's recognize the presence of Mrs. Roberts in the house. Can you stand, please, Mrs. Roberts? She doesn't want to stand to the ball. Yes. Arnold Oswald Roberts, born 25th August 1969, was first elected to the House of Representatives on Monday, May 24, 2010. As the member for Dabadi O'Meara, May 29, 2010, saw his appointment as Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs. He was named an opposition senator for the 12th Republican Parliament in 2020. Mr. Roberts is a well-known swimming coach and athlete who has competed for Trinidad and Tobago in football and swimming, in addition to becoming the host of the hugely successful sports television program Spark. He also earned an Olympic bronze medal as a coach alongside George Bovell III. In addition, he's a radio and social media star who hosts one of Trinidad and Tobago's most popular social media talk shows, Douglas Politics. Trinidad and Tobago have recognized Arnold Roberts as Coach of the Year 3 times and Personality of the Year twice. His master's degree in business administration with a public administration concentration is from Harriet Watt University, Edinburgh School of Business. His coach certification is the highest in the world, namely Level 5 Senior, ASC, and Level 5 WSCA, Senior again. Ladies and gentlemen, the Electoral Reform Coalition presents Mr. Arnold Oswald Roberts.
Good evening, Dominica. What a pleasure and a joy it is to see so many good people gathered here tonight. In my country, sometimes in the politics that is divided by race, as 38% of our population is of East Indian descent, and 37% is of African descent. And the politicians from the beginning decided to divide and rule so that they can raid the treasury as they want. So you work hard night and day. You research, you speak, you talk, you educate. And sometimes you get weary. You get tired. But since I've arrived in Dominica, and I've looked into the eyes of the people, and they've shown me love, respect. I have said, and I feel now, as the pastor who began the proceedings, that you all should get up and sing and never get weary yet. And the fight will continue. And let me tell you, people of Dominica, as I see the intelligence, the brilliance, the love, the togetherness, the passion, and the patriotism. Since there are people in Dominica who have self-passport, tonight I say, I make it myself an honorary Dominican. So as you stood and you sang your national anthem, and I must confess, it is the first time that I took the time to listen to the national anthem of Dominica. In all my sporting career, I was never privileged to see a Dominican athlete stand on the gold medal podium in Carifta or Central America or the Olympics. That must change, and it will change. So I must confess that tonight was the first time I heard the sweet refrain, the music, the message of the national anthem of Dominica, and I got goosebumps, energy, and I never get weary, because you, the people here tonight, who after a hard day's work, seeing about your children, and Dominica's son hot-headed, for you to come here tonight, to sit, to listen to so many speakers, to stay awake, to pay attention, I say thank you very much. I say thank you, Dominica, for the invitation, for me to share with you the pain and the devastation that goes on with the electoral process and the lack of electoral reform in Trinidad and Tobago from the beginning. And I see you will be able to look, listen, and see similarities in your history. So I will go through that process.
But before I go through that process, I tell you, Brian Lara in Trinidad and Tobago is a star boy. Marshall Montano is a star boy. Bunchy Garden is a star boy. Dwight York is a star boy. But one thing each and every one of them know is there ain't no star boy bigger than the country. The real star boy is Trinidad and Tobago on that side and Dominica right there. The nation, the flag, the country and the people. Anyone who thinks that they are more important than the people, anyone who thinks that they are too powerful, anyone who thinks that they mustn't listen to the citizens, anyone who thinks that the national anthem plays for him has to be a star boy of stupidity. Anybody who feels them a star boy, I born in war, I grow in war, and I raised in war. So don't tell me that I have anything personal against anybody. I do not. You made an error. You did not educate yourself. You didn't act properly. You were discourteous. You came to my country and you attacked me and the opposition leader without reading a piece of paper, without being knowledgeable. You embarrassed yourself and the entire country of Dominica. And that's where I come. So, star boy, slow your road. Dominica to do me a favor. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to send a message from the middle of the Caribbean Sea down to the southernmost Twin Island Republic. I need Dominica to show the way, to be the leading light, to show that people power and unity can be weak tyrannical oppressors each and every time, so that my people in Trinidad and Tobago will do the same and follow in your footsteps. So tonight I challenge you, the people of Dominica, because right is right and wrong is wrong, and if you can't understand that, I can't help you. And I'm going to show you how my democracy in Trinidad and Tobago is 1 degree away from death. If it takes 360 degrees to twist the neck of democracy until it snaps in two, our democracy in Trinidad and Tobago has reached 359 degrees and hanging on by a thread. We just laid to rest the Honorable Bastille Pandey, the 5th Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, a great warrior poet, a genius of a man who could speak without paper, a man who could talk to the garbage man and the worker who's cleaning the road, or could sit with prime ministers, presidents, kings and queens and hold his own. A man who fought, took baton and horse kick from bad police to fight for the rights of labor, to fight for the rights of equal pay for women, to fight for constitutional reform. Bastille Pandey was just laid to rest. But here the ironic thing in my country of Trinidad and Tobago, the 3 highest officials who were announced to come to Bastille Pandey's funeral were PNM Prime Minister Keith Rowley, PNM President Kangalu, and PNM Chief Justice Imo Archie, who recently jumped down into the political gyre to support the executive, embarrassing the office and the entire judiciary, when the Prime Minister attacked the independent office of the DPP. We are a little bit better off than y'all here. I hear your DPP like Gucci bag. I don't know, man. Our DPP don't have no Gucci bag. But our DPP is a constitutional office, and luckily he's an independent person, and he's fighting to hold on. That may be the last degree that they're trying to convert. So when Bastille Pandey died, what he fought for, especially over the last 22 years, was constitutional reform. Because he realized we started wrong, we end up wrong, and the PNM took us further down the road of wrong. But the people who spoke at this funeral, and who was one of the best speakers, was the Excellency, the President. Who is a PNM? Who was a PNM MP? Who was a PNM Minister? Who was the PNM President of the Senate? Who preached the gospel of the PNM and then jump out and say, I'm independent? So she took the Constitution further backwards than where we started. Wow. And in 1961, into 62, when these consultations on our Constitution began, we didn't start good. We didn't start at Olympic level. We started as kind of all right. So to move from kind of all right in the wrong direction means that our democracy is in danger. From the three people who spoke or who were the honored guests at the state funeral of Bastille Pandey, we then had the Speaker of the House, PNM, her husband, a PNM, but also on 7 boards as chairman, controlling $2 billion in taxpayers' money. Also living in a compound called Inez Gate in Tobago, next door neighbor to the Prime Minister. Next door neighbor is the central bank governor, who's supposed to be independent, but he living right next door to the existing tyrannical Prime Minister. That is our Constitution. That is our electoral process going awry. Separation of powers has been eliminated. Then at this funeral also was a Commissioner of Police. Commissioner of Police is supposed to be so independent that they're supposed to be able to lock up the Prime Minister in the room. But this Commissioner of Police got her job because the Prime Minister didn't like the last Commissioner of Police, and he went to the former President, whispering she had sweet nothings. She breached the Constitution section 123(4), which meant that the merit list of all the police who had interviewed, done their resumes, did their skills, put forward themselves to be the leader of the police force, that list was handed to the President, and the Constitution says she shall, not may, she shall lay it in Parliament. But the Prime Minister went and whispered in she heard, because she heard the list coming, and she told another independent officer, the chairperson of the Independent Police Service Commission, to come and take back the list. And she followed instruction, break the law, and take back the list. And then we had no Commissioner of Police until the Prime Minister and the President, who were friends in a Bishop's Tea Party, appoint a next Police Service Commission, and then now create and choose a Commissioner of Police who was number 12 on the list after the list was done, and make she number 1, and Trinidad and Tobago in a mess. When good people stay quiet, when good people argue about small things, big things that happen, and it gets good. I ain't done there, you know. Or they feel like done there. In Bastille Pandey funeral, who was a man fighting for constitutional reform to go in this direction, but the PNM take it so. There was also other members of the Senate. The Senate consists of 15 government senators versus 6 opposition senators. They're so afraid we. They have about 15 of them against 6 of them. Right? And then they're supposed to have 9 independent. But if you have a PNM Prime Minister and a PNM President who's appointing the senators, where you will get independent or PNM? Yeah. So you end up with 15 PNM, plus 9 PNM, 24 against 6 UNC, and the President of the Senate is PNM. Does that sound like democracy or does that sound like oppression? And then I had to listen to the president, the PNM president, talk about Pascal Pandey, and I must admit, because unfortunately as a very honest seller, her speech was brilliant. It was heartfelt, it was connected. She gave some great anecdotes, stories from her childhood when her father and Pascal Pandey were friends. Her speech was really the best. I must say so. Even though I have no respect for her, I have to get Jackson jacket and change the gym. Now, if you tell me if the speech made sense, we fall down there. Because you cannot be the person who desecrated the Constitution in the wrong direction towards oppression and dictatorship and come on a speech in front of a man who fight for constitutional reform and talk about constitutional reform as if you really want to stop it. You are the one who accelerated it. That is Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I come to talk to you. I see I'm going to look good in Dominica. You understand? But it's time to really talk now. So understand what's going on. Right? I'm going to tell you something. We're going back because we is your big brother and big sister. Not only is our population bigger than yours, we are 1.4 million people and 150,000 illegal immigrants that come from Venezuela. Y'all are 61,000 approximately and 75,000 who could vote. We understand that. But let me tell you, in 1961, we were fighting for independence. And our Prime Minister, the PNM, Dr. Eric Williams, who some say is the father of the nation, I will call him the father of division, but he really was extremely intelligent. Now the opposition was always divided. If you check the roll books of opposition parties in Trinidad and Tobago, you will find about 264 iterations of opposition parties in 60 years. You will find POP, PG, UNF, TAPIA, UNC, Committee, ONR, NAR, this one now, CCZ, ABC, DEF, GHI, all of that over here. Why? Because Dr. Williams was a genius. He created a monolithic system on one side, his PNM party, which would never break up. You could do a PNM in anything. You could fire them by fax, you could embarrass them, you could tell them they wipe only, and they say, great to see PNM, thank you. I thought she was ugly too, but thank you, leader. Yes. That is what the PNM is, but they don't ever break up. But the Constitution at that time, they were going to England to get independence. And so, the government, the PNM, Dr. Williams, the Premier, had to go with the opposition leader to Marlborough House in England to get agreement for independence. But there was a big problem. Dr. Williams started to cheat one time. They divide up the country in a way. Now remember, why I have hope in Dominica is that you all don't have the bugbear and the yoke around your neck of race. So I have a little bit more hope with y'all. Because when race come into a situation, all brain does stop. Ears does clog and facts don't mean nothing. It's an amazing thing. So the boundaries that were created were made and gave a total advantage to the PNM as it still exists today. But Dr. Williams, just like the PNM leader now, was very savvy in telling untruths and convincing people of his righteousness. So up in Marlborough House, Capildeo, who was the leader of the opposition then, was up there fighting and saying, no, we need electoral reform. We need boundary reform. We need an independent analysis and scientific analysis to divide the country so that elections could be fair. Dr. Williams told him, boy, he had the gift of God. We in England, the Queen and the call up here, come now, we go sign this here, and when we go home, we go fix that. When they reach home, and the 68 years gone, and they get fixed here, they get worse. So following that, an election or a discussion on a constitution came, and the PNM put forward a constitution and told the opposition and any other parties, you had 5 minutes, you had 35 days first of all to contribute. Now this is creating a country. You have 35 days. They put get them a document and say, read that. We want your contribution not midnight like Byron, but you have 35 days. And after that 35 days, we're going to have a consultation like what they had it. But you can only talk 5 minutes. You created a constitution for a new nation, and you could only talk 5 minutes. So pieces of the opposition, Mr. Ashford Sinner and others, started to protest, and they were thrown out. Ellis Clark was the PNM man who was in charge of the Constitution, or the writing of the Constitution. And he said, and I quote, and I want you people to listen carefully, because this applies throughout. He said, this document, because he was faced with criticism, that it doesn't take into consideration the multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society that Trinidad and Tobago was. He said, I chose this document because this is what we were trained to follow. This is what we were trained to follow. Now you see why we are in a lot of problems. Because we are not puppy dogs who are trained. We are not performing chimpanzees. We are individuals, human beings from a Caribbean nation with disparate views, different intelligences, creativity, love, and respect. So we started wrong, but that's what we got. Flash forward now. Flag raised, red, white, and black, 1962. 1966 election under the same electoral boundaries, the same commission. PNM win. PNM won for 30 years straight. So much so was the frustration of the opposition that was always divided because you have POPPG, Workers' Party, Sugar Party, UNT, NMC, all of these things. That PNM just said PNM. All the seats. In 1971, the frustration was so great that the opposition said, we're not participating. The PNM didn't care, they didn't like that. They went and win all 36. Mama Guy the place, all money flowing like salt, and them doing what they want. They say they're going to build a horse track, spend 200 million, which is about 2 billion right now if you extrapolate the value of money. A horse ain't run yet. But it's they build Mungo Hospital, they say they're going to build for 200 million, they spend $1 billion. The hospital built and they didn't have no equipment. Anything
they do, they buy plane, they road, tesoro, anything starting. Money just gone. But the opposition could not get together. Because what would happen is, Dr. William Sobrat, when a leader come and the opposition say, yes, this person love people, I like how he or she talking, let us, but it wasn't she back then, he. I'm trying to be politically correct, but history, I can't rewrite history. It was only man then. Woman was home, cooking good roti, doubles and paying our tons, right? When they said that they coalescing, Dr. Williams said, what? Them boys getting together. If they get together, I'll get licks. So who is the leader? See how good you talk today? Boy, I'll give you some land down in South there. About 100 acres good with, yes? And much of the opposition. We come back again, we call it the same day. And next leader coming up talking and fighting, and it look like pressure in the parliament. But where they are land there, in Barataria, and give them something there in Barataria. And that is how they kept going. Divide and rule, divide and rule, and 30 years of oppression. See, no, I tell you, you have to listen with Dominica else, you know. I talking Trinidad and Tobago. Because remember, we have big star boy and stupidity over there, or you only have a small one. So understand this now. So we continue. The EBC is supposed to be independent. That's the referee. That's the Election and Boundaries Commission. They are the ones to make the rules, set the boundaries, do the ID. Oh, they don't have ID card. The leaders have ID card. But then they determine when you vote, how you vote, who vote, and if the vote close, then they determine who win. If it's a ballot, them looking with bodies and eyes. That is how we running it. If there were a football game, I asked somebody this yesterday. Supporters of football game. One match. Trinidad and Tobago versus Dominica. Winner go to the World Cup. But the match played in Trinidad and Tobago here is Copa Stadium. The referee is a Trini, the assistant official, two of them is Trini, and the court official from Tobago. You find that fair? No. Electoral reform is necessary. Yes, sir. It didn't stop there. As we move on, the PNM, flash forward now. They elect the most dishonest human being in the history of the Commonwealth called Keith Christopher Rowley. He went in the Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago with pieces of concocted lies that were not even emails, and he held them for 6 months, and they were supposedly about the sitting government of which I was a part, that we wanted to commit murder and conspiracy to murder journalists, all kind of fabricated, absolute, abject nonsense. He held it for 6 months. So if it was real, you wanted the person dead. Because it was real and we went and killed somebody. When you hold it for 6 months, they should have locked you up for not reporting about it. But do you know the media, when they found out, because 29 of the 31 things could not even be emails. Them little babies, them little children would have known that they didn't have enough characters to go up in the cloud. The only place it could have go up is in Rowley Nose Hole. But the media was so corrupt. It's not the Port Estate in Trinidad and Tobago. It's the Port rent out. The media is a brothel in Trinidad and Tobago. Who pay more, get what they want to send. So them are the money, the media printing what they say. They don't care about truth, they don't care about propriety, they don't care about journalistic integrity. A media that does not print the truth is more corrupt than those who it supports.
what happened after that? The EBC, which at the time, people thought, just like some of y'all thought one of the commissioners appointed was going to do a good job, eh? Yes, because they didn't know he was a secret red man. He liked to wear red drawers, and he had red in the car, and his bed sheet home was red, or they didn't know. Well, that's another trick of those who want to cheat. They find people who you ain't sure what side them on, but they know them on their side. And they put them there, and you say, oh my goodness, we have an independent person. Maybe we'll get something fair. Maybe we'll get something sensible. No. You know what we got to the EBC? 2015 election. PNM know by 2 o'clock. One thing PNM have from since 1956 is an election machinery that has worked like science. It has worked like an Apple Watch. It has worked good. It's like a laptop. They know who vote, when they vote, how they vote, what they don't think, man. Give Jack the jacket, they know that. So they find out by 2:30 or so, the ganglings, them call the EBC, say, boy, it has plenty rain. We think we need another hour. The EBC extend an election by an hour and didn't tell the UNC. And when the UNC went to court, the judges and separation of powers, judiciary is supposed to be independent. Even though we have a Chief Justice who come down to attack the DPP to defend the Prime Minister, if all they find that independent men line, let them know they decide. Me come to tell Dominican what to think. The judges said, yes, it was wrong. It was inappropriate. It was unfair to not inform the opposition that there was an extra hour. However, we cannot actually determine the number of exact votes that occurred in that hour, and therefore we can't overturn the election. Democracy, or they say democracy, or they feel that day. The PNM wasn't happy with that, you know. You know what they do when they get out in a scraping victory? They then change the Elections and Boundaries Commissioner. They didn't find that one was PNM enough. They go on and find the niece of a sitting minister in the cabinet of the PNM, who is also the best school friend of the now and then Minister of Education and Deputy Political Leader of the PNM to put in charge of the EBC to be the referee in the election. Sometimes when I tell you, we will stand on here, it has woke up my love sometimes, right? We fight it. It didn't stop there. It get worse. COVID came. And Rowley and get a cocktail in the local government election in November of 2019. COVID started to hit end of November in China into December, Korea and thing. And it come around and somehow the media fooled the whole country that a government that doing nothing, testing nobody, checking nothing, but just saying, block out all the citizens, nobody come home, we pray this thing. But the borders open and Venezuelan migrants coming across, walking on water, coming with bags, coming with COVID, coming with anything. The whole population with press conference every day. 35,000 people, you can't come home to vote. It's the reverse, because when I have an election, people just come home quick. People who come home in 10 years, all of a sudden they have ticket. I hear that, I don't know, you know. But it was the reverse. They stop people from coming home to vote. Only they will decide. So if it's a PLM, exemption, come to vote. Oh God, is a UNC? Or we're not so sure, but you're an Indian. So nah, you see when race involved, it's very easy to gerrymander and divide. That is a dangerous thing. So when all you feel depressed, when all you feel a little darkness, take a little pride, take a little energy to
that we worse off than others. So when I leave here tonight, if all you don't understand that I don't want to hear anything from EGP, ABC, DEC, DAC, UGE, I want to hear all Dominicans get together to deal with the evil once and all, because it don't matter. They don't have the right thing. You can't find a top now. I could be okay. My belly big. That's irrelevant. Because you know who is the star boy? Dominica is the star boy. Yeah. And if you all know save the star boy now, those children here will never benefit from the greatness and the potential of Dominica as you always have had the opportunity to do. So whenever you feel you don't like him because he hair white and he wear glasses, forget that, because Dominica is more important than your disciple here. If you feel that you don't like John because he talk too long and he talk over time and I have to wait for him, forget that. That's not important. Dominica is important. And when you see people like this and you get together, Trinidad and Tobago, my country could look at you and say, yes, we could save ourselves from the tyrannical, oppressive, arrogant, disgusting, misogynist that we have down there. I have one here too. Now, let us talk brass tacks facts now. Let's break it down simple. All this electoral reform and constitutional reform and we want to do this and the campaign finance reform and all of that, forget all that big words. It is very simple. Someone who believes in merit, someone who believes that if you work hard, if you educate yourself, if you like people, if you touch people, if you get charitable, if you help people, that you deserve to move up in politics based on merit, that person will never want to cheat in an election.
That's right. That's right.
You will need to change. If you're going to do good for the people, if you're going to take oil and gas and put educational opportunities and sporting opportunities and food and job security for the people will love you. So if you have to cheat, you know you're a jackass. Understand that? So all of these despotic, tyrannical oppressors who cheated, them come to do wrong. They start off with a wrong heart. They start off with stone in the chest. They start off with pain and evil in the mind. They start off walking over here and witchcraft somewhere. Because if you come to do good, you don't need to gerrymander. You don't need planes to bring people. You don't need to put a pan. You don't need to fly in. You don't need to use RSS to beat up people and take us from over there. You don't need to do that. Because the people will love you. And all you have to say is, people, would you please vote for me? And the people will say, yes. But not with evil miscreants who come there to take your future, to mortgage the future of your nation, to destroy your country and move with impunity because they are selfish by nature. They got into politics. And this is a point that was made to me yesterday by one of the honorable leaders. Young people say politics is a dirty thing. When they hear politics, nasty. They don't want to hear that. And so we, who want to have clean politics, who want to help people, we get afraid too. Because you never hear a nurse say, well, I'm a veterinarian, I'm not a nurse. Because nurses proud to be nurses. Teachers proud to be doctors, but politicians shame to be politicians. You ever ask yourself why? You want to know why? Because it is done by design by the cheaters. Because the less people that get involved in the electoral process, the better for the cheater. So one of the ways they keep young people out is to make them feel, oh, they ain't good. Politicians ain't good. I don't want to hear from all you. If I'm having a barbecue, no politics. If I'm having a football match, no politics. We must change that. Because politics impacts their lives from the time they wake up. When you hug your wife and you want to bathe, if you turn on the tap and it's hot water, like politics. When you're going to make coffee and it's half done because the coffee too expensive, that is politics. When you're going to put the starter and the car can't start in the entire flat because it's busting a pothole, that is politics. When you reach down the road and it's half traffic, that is politics. When you go to school and the children can't get lunch because they spend out all the money and some of you have them in some account, but they can't buy school feeding for the children, that is politics. When you go to the hospital and you hand up Panadol, that is politics. When you go down by the ship there and the water smelling thing, that is politics. When the boats come in and they only take people to a certain business place, that is politics. So don't let them run you from politics. Politics is life, and life is politics, and good people must get involved in politics, or we will leave the evil of the church. When cheaters cheat, they deny others opportunity. Whether it is sport, business, education, politics, when cheaters cheat, they deny others who deserve it an opportunity. In 1972 in the Olympics, I'm going to call a name, and I bet you maybe none of you would have ever heard that name. It's the name of Shirley Babashoff, an American swimmer. Google it. She got 6 silver medals and 1 gold medal in the relay. 7 medals, but nobody ever knew about she. They know about Mark Spitz, who got 7 gold medals. But here's the difference. The 6 silver medals that Babashoff got were won by the East German cheaters called Cornelia Ender when they were taking steroids as part of their secret program. So they were cheating. They were taking testosterone. She was racing against basically, a kind of woman, half man. Nowadays, you gotta call them some kind of thing, you don't want to call them. But back then, it was just a cheater. That cheater from East Germany called Cornelia Ender denied Shirley Babashoff the global recognition that would have come with 7 gold medals. The money, the endorsements, the love, the adoration, the speaking engagement. She may have rubbed out over $20 million plus. Her family didn't really know, didn't feel, they thought she was a disappointment because the cheater cheated.
Yeah.
In 1973, Trinidad and Tobago played Haiti for a place in the World Cup football. Winner go to the World Cup in Germany, 1974. Trinidad and Tobago scored 4 times. The referee disallowed 3 goals and we lost 2-1. Haiti went to the World Cup. Our great players missed an opportunity because back then they didn't have social media. They didn't have no Instagram. They didn't have no TikTok. To get a contract to play, man had to see you play in the World Cup. So how many great players lost an opportunity for success, future earnings, professional football, education abroad because a referee decided to cheat. A cheater decided to cheat. These people who do not want electoral reform are cheaters.
In 1995, I was coaching a girl from Barbados called Leah Martindale. I had seen her swim. She was losing, coming 7th or 8th, but I saw talent and I told her mother. My mother took me seriously. Next thing you know, she living by my mother and I coaching her. We went to Rio de Janeiro World Short Course Championships. She moved from 270th in the world down to 5th in the 50-meter freestyle and 100-meter freestyle final. 5th place. Well, that was great. First black woman ever to make a world championship swimming final. Proud. But when I look at who beat her, 2 Chinese, Jinji Li and Shan Ying, who were cheating, who they were blatant caught cheating because the East German doctors went over when the wall fell down in 1989, 1990. They went to China and began cheating there. So 5th minus 2 is bronze. That would have been a bronze. And there was a German girl who later tested positive also. So it was really silver. In 1996, Leah Martindale became the first black woman to ever make an Olympic individual swimming title. I was coaching her. Black coach, black swimmer. Atlanta 1996. She swam in lane 1, 50-meter freestyle. She came 5th. But who beat her? Jinji Li, Shan Ying, and a girl from USA called Amy Van Dyken. All 3 tested positive after. But we end up with 5th. Should have been silver. In 2001, George Bovell, my athlete, in Fukuoka, Japan, swimming the 200-meter IM, moved from 44th in the world to number 1 after the heats. And in the final, he went out ahead of world record pace. And I say finally, after all my trials and tribulations, I'm coming home with precious medal. I didn't realize I didn't have enough time to fix his breaststroke. And he moved from first to last. In that one lap, I barely cried. But he fought back and he came 4th, just off the podium. But you know who beat him? Massimiliano Rossolino from Italy. Later test positive and banned from it. But he didn't. He take the medal there. 2nd, 3rd place was Jani Sivanen of Finland. Test positive the year after. So the 4th was really silver. And another opportunity lost. The same thing happened in 2003. But in 2004, with perseverance and with teamwork, George Bovell got up on the podium at the Athens Olympics 2004 and got a bronze medal. When his coach saw him touch, I fall down on the ground just hugging up the concrete because it was so long we had tried. We had persevered and we eventually broke through. So when you feel tired, when you feel frustrated, when the cheaters keep winning, don't give up because cheaters will never prosper forever. And when we win, we will get rid of them. And you know how we get rid of them? With teamwork. And you know how team works? You take your ego, and my ego big. Really. I don't like the loss. But in order to win in politics, politics is not about individual qualities. It's about quantity. So in politics, you need bright people. You need vexed people. You need nice people. You need bald people. You need weave people. You need eyelash people. You need notice people. You need argumentative people. You just need people. So, it matters not who lead, because all going in the same direction. It matters not who get position, because Dominica is the star boy, and Dominica wins. Trinidad and Tobago wins when everybody get together. Do you know how we got that bronze medal? Now remember, I tried since 1993 coming up and missing. failing and crying, and I can't take it, I'm getting depressed. You gotta bring food from here in a dark room, and I think how to win with this thing, oh God, boy. Every time I go, I just do, I tear singing the rain over, I can't get it. You know how I end up getting it? It wasn't me. Somebody said Olympic. Before a swimming final in the Olympics, your athlete has to go down in the ready room. That is about 25 minutes of torture for a coach, because once they're down there, you can't say nothing, you can't advise nothing, you can't change no strategy. You have to stand up there, nervous, boom boom clap it up. You don't know if to stand up or to straight up. You don't know what to do. But just with about 5 minutes to go, before George was to go down for that Olympic final, I'm looking at him and I'm not seeing it. He looking scared, he looking frightened, he looking nervous, like the weight of a nation on his shoulders. I said, Lord, help me. I can't over talk, because if I talk too much, he will get more nervous. I can't go over the strategy again, because that might get him scared. So I'm wondering what to do. I looked to a corner and I saw his friend from Bahamas, Jeremy Knowles, an Olympic swimmer from Bahamas, who had trained with George at university. And something tell me, call Jeremy. I called Jeremy. I said, Jeremy, talk to him. Talk to him. I need him to get ready. I need to see what I need to see in his mind, his body, his soul. I need to feel that he's ready. And I left Jeremy and I walked over so. But I'm beating and macking. And I'm macking. And they're talking. But I can't hear. But I can't go too close because I had to shut up. And next thing, whatever Jeremy said, George looked up and he looked to me. And I saw the look of fire, confidence, and I just do so. Go, go, go. I turned and I walked away. I said him. The rest is history. He went and he swam even though he was injured slightly and brought bronze and glory for Trinidad and Tobago. I want all of you, when you go home, Google that race, 2004, 200 individual medley, and you will see George Mobile doing like this, celebrating the bronze. And you will see what appears to be a tattoo on his bicep. It was not a tattoo. Jeremy Knowles, with his brilliant Bahamian young self, took out a pen that he had in his pocket, drew a hammer on his bicep, and reminded George that when he was in training, when he was at his weakest, when he was under pressure, when they were in the most pain, when lactic acid was dripping out the earlobes, that he used to say to all his teammates, I'm going to drop the hammer of justice on y'all on this one. And he would drop it on them and beat them. Jeremy Knowles, through teamwork with Coach Allen. But the coach put in his ego in his pocket. Allowed Jeremy to put the last piece of the puzzle to bring glory to Trinidad and Tobago and to the country. So it is not about individuals. It's not about one person. It's about each and every one. Everybody have a skill. Some people could talk without paper. Some people could walk and hug. Some people could go and canvas. Some people could organize and cook. Some people could monitor the list. Some people could argue for reform. Some people could do it. Some people will clean the office. Some people will walk and paint the road. Some will stick up stickers. Some will go. But everyone is needed. And once we all together, no oppressor can oppress us. other characteristic about an oppressor, especially one in Trinidad, and if there are any similarities, you all will know. But the one in Trinidad and Tobago is a bully. He's a midget of a man. He's a mama pool. If a lady tell him something, he jump up and throw media, they ask him a question, he buff up the poor little media because he's a big bad bully. But when the baller will come and tell him all kind of things, how he walk down, home and he just take in order for you to get a walk down there. All your woman who looking good and you got plenty nice man. If all your man walk to be a minister down there in Trinidad and down, you have to go home by he. Walk down past 3 doors, pass a barrack, open Madam John office, and wait on a red coat for he, or he go to to take place. And then you might get him up. These are not men who should be leading. That's right. These are men of low character. These are men of no heart. How do they differentiate between outside child and inside child? What kind of man would ever do that? Childless child. So a cheater and a bully becomes a dictator. So why we allow that? Because we can unite. So we allow a cheater and a bully to oppress we wife, we children, we cousin, we neighbor, and the whole country. No Dominica, no Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to wrap up the whole I'm going for. I'm going to have 5 minutes. Alright. What? With open paper when through all that thing good one? Let me tell you about some methods of democratic suppression that are utilized by dictators, in my case, in Trinidad and Tobago, by the PNM, by King Christopher Raoul. There are methods of democratic suppression leading to oppression, gerrymandering boundaries, deciding who to move where and who to put where and how to divide it so that them get an advantage. Voter suppression, making young people feel politics is a joke, hiding and frightening people and telling them if you go and vote there, we watching you, you ain't gonna get your walk, you ain't gonna get your hand, you ain't gonna get whatever. Voter insensitivization. That's a big word, and they dribble. What that means is bribery, voter banning, whether it's building house in marginal constituencies or playing your start a land just so before election. No voter ID, no observers, control of the Electoral Commission, but by putting your own people there to mama guide the process. Judicial oppression of the opposition, using the courts to stymie those who are solidifying and unifying the opposition forces, build them in court, sully the name, media manipulation, spread lies, repeat lies, then lie again. Let me tell Star of stupidity. Leave and the Robert's mouth out your name. Rowdy starting up to do it. You say the wrong thing about live sport and corruption. Live sport was a program developed in my head to help the young black boys to stop killing and murdering each other. It was designed to put resources out of the hands of the rich, down on the ground, to put food in their mouth, to give them a stipend, to give them guidance counsel, sociologists, education, numeracy, literacy, all of these things. In that period of life sport, the murder rate went down to 345. So Starboy stupidity asked your partner over there, if life sport was so bad, I have two questions for you, Starboy. One, why the murder rate in Trinidad and Tobago in 2022 was 614 and in 2023 576 as opposed to 375 if life sport was so bad. And secondly, if life sport so bad and Anil did this and took that and stole that, how come Rowley in 8 years spending $50 million, hiring his own commissioner of police, his own investigator, putting money to catch Anil, and Anil right here, flying free, will always be free to come and talk and get rid of another dictator over here? Because in the words of Cat Williams, true people should never, true and honest people should never allow liars to rewrite history. So understand this, Starboy of stupidity. Rowley and your parents breaking down there, try to bury Anil in lies. Them couldn't do it. You not as bad as them. You might be a little uglier, but you ain't happy with God. Now remember, as I begin to wrap up, leaders surround themselves with people in their own image. So if you get a leader who is loving, who's courteous, who's respectful, who's honest, whose moral compass is intact, who has integrity, like the people that I met all over Dominica for the last 2 days. If you get a leader like that, then you will have a cabinet of honesty, integrity, propriety, and intelligence. But if you is a nasty man, if your heart dark and heavy like coal mixed with granite, if you're so wicked you don't know where to lie up when the night comes, if you have no character and you want to lie and take people's wife away, you will surround yourself with people like that. This is why Starboy of stupidity come in Trinidad to tell we that that misogynist, that disrespectful one is a nice guy because he likes him. I don't know if he went anywhere and talked to him. You can fight by me in my country to tell me the devil good, but leave yourself out of the business. And I now come in your business because you open your mouth what you should have said. What you should have said. When you made an error, you misspoke, you got involved in an election period in politics that was not your business. You did not read, you did not understand. You spoke from your head and your head is empty. What you should have said was, I am sorry. If God said, I am sorry, he goes around and said, okay. But my people, in the Caribbean, we need Starboys. We need Starboys of integrity. We need Starboys of honesty. We need Starboys of empathy. We need Starboys of creativity. We need Starboys of fairness. We need Starboys of democracy. We are fed up of Starboys of stupidity. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a bit more for you, but I'm going to speak up of snow when it's time to wrap up on the end. God bless, stay strong.
This is what we call a wonderful night. A wonderful night. And brothers and sisters, we are going to invite the Sunday school people to vote of thanks. And I want again to say in a big way, thank you so much to Senator Annie Roberts, who are really focused on what democracy, good governance is about in the Caribbean, what democracy is about in the Caribbean. So do not send this in Iowa. Can you please come on stage to do the vote of thanks? My brothers and sisters, let us just come a little bit, let's come a little bit, because the whole idea of this exercise is to continue. We will bring in other speakers from other parts of the Caribbean to engage with us. And again, brothers and sisters, we understood that they may have their parliament, but we have to prepare ourselves for our people's parliament. This year we have to be engaged as much as possible. I want to thank in a very big way the many persons who assisted us to get this activity off the ground. I of course want to thank you for your contribution as well. The contribution you made tonight. And if you are able and have not been contributing, please do so, because that is important. We will also call on you from time to time, brothers and sisters. Thank you, and God bless you.